this thing on? I don't know. I'm going to go with it. Hey, what's up? It's me, Animal. Only on Animal Expedition Files. See you there. Hey everybody, welcome to the Animal Expedition Files. I hope you're having an incredible weekend. It's a Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I am so happy to be on tonight. We have an amazing guest in the background right now in the green room, or we could call it. But before we go live with our guest, please click like and subscribe on my channel called Animal Expedition Files, or you could go on my website, animalexpeditionfiles.com. I know it's a handful. Plus, you can check out the merch. I got a lot of cool merch. Look at backpacks, shoes, candles, shirts, hoodies, you name it. We got it. So check it out. But we're going to have our amazing guest after these messages. Hey, everybody. It's the Animal. Thank you so much for joining me tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be going live with an amazing guest you don't want to miss, especially September 22nd. I'll be joining the red carpet at a big movie premiere. I'll be interviewing directors, actors, actresses, you name it. So you'll be with me behind the scenes at this big movie premiere that you don't want to miss, September 22nd. But also, again, join me tonight on the Animal Expedition Files. So I hope you check that out. I will be gone this Monday at a movie premiere up in Tampa, Florida. You don't want to miss out. It'll be cool. I'll be going live there, interviewing a whole bunch of people. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be kind of Gatsby, kind of dressed up, red carpet, all that cool stuff. So you don't want to miss out. So it'll be definitely different for Animal Expedition Files. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff. So check it out Monday night at, I think it's 7 p.m. I'll have to check it out, but once I check it out, I will post it on my page. Just look out for that. But we're going to have Steve Gaynor on, a director that directed a whole bunch of amazing stuff, and music videos, movies, TV shows, you name it. But we're going to get him on here right now, and we're going to talk some fun stuff. So let's get him on here.
What's going on?
Up? How's it going, brother?
It's going great, man. So you're going to Tampa. You know, while in Tampa, I highly recommend that you go to Ybor City and get yourself some of those black beans and yellow rice, man, because that is amazing food.
Yeah, that and tacos, tacos and yellow rice and all that. That's all I think about like every day because I love eating tacos. It's one of my favorite things to do.
You know, we were talking before you went live, and we're discussing the fact that a lot of my family is from Florida. And for a time, I lived in the Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete area in a little town called Largo, Florida. And I went to Pinellas Park Elementary Schools and also the Largo Junior High School. So I know that area very well. It's a beautiful place, man.
That's all. Yeah, the Ybor City. It's a wonderful that in Orlando and a whole bunch of other places. You could just travel and have fun and be a kid. Just don't play with the gators and snakes.
No, man, I'm out when it comes to those. My childhood in Alabama and Florida taught me not to step on water moccasins. That's for sure. You know, it's funny. I lived in this little house in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, that was right by a big lake. And my dad would go fishing down there all the time. And one day he goes, "Hey, go get the stringer." So I pulled the stringer up out of the water, and there was a water moccasin hanging off of it,
Oh
chawing on
wow.
a fish. And I dropped it and screamed. And this man, out of nowhere, I think it was like a guardian angel, I'm not kidding, came up, pushed me back, and dropped a block onto the snake, and I assume killed it. I don't know. And he looked at me and he goes, "You should go home, little man." So I went home real quick. Hate snakes, man. I think they're beautiful and they're great. You know, they do great things for the environment, obviously, to keep the vermin down and all. But as far as coexisting in a close habitat, I'm out. I can't do it. Nope.
Oh man, I'll never forget. Like I used to, because I do construction for a living and stuff like that. But like I'll never forget when I used to go with my dad on jobs, and it was in the middle of nowhere in Florida. It was like towards Everglades area, and this guy was a snake handler. He would like literally take snakes, hold them,
Your
and like
dad?
go. No, not my dad, but this customer. He would tell us he would literally grab snakes like middle of the night, doesn't matter, day or night, just grab it by the neck, bring it in his house, take a book out, and read to see what kind of snake it is. And then he would just like take it and throw it away and throw it out and back in the woods.
You know, it's funny the dichotomy of the fact that I dealt with snakes as a child, and then I moved to Los Angeles to deal with even meaner vipers. Man, they're the snakes out here are much more deadly and much more prone to attack.
Oh yeah, California is a different monster.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, it's a monster that you definitely have to coexist with if you want to make a living. So, uh, you know.
Speaking about a living in California, tell us a little bit about your story. How you get how did you get into directing with this amazing journey of yours? Because I know you are directing many movies right now. I know you've done music videos, a whole bunch of things.
You know, actually, right now I am producing a movie. And my journey started like this. I in the South, I played in a bunch of rock bands, right? And I was a hot shot guitar player. Now we're talking about 1981, 82. Okay,
Yeah.
I was a hot shot Van Halen-esque sort of a guitar player in the South, and my band. I was in a band called Tokyo Rose, and we played all around the South. And at a certain point, we had kind of broken up, and I was like, you know, I want to move to Los Angeles. So first, I actually ended up moving to Denver, Colorado, and I played in some bands there for a year or so. That kind of didn't go anywhere. So then I went insane and moved to New York City and tried for a while. And that's really difficult to get yourself established in New York City. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
have family there to help you, man, it's hard because it's hella cold in the winter and gross and
Mm-hmm.
snowy, and the subway is pretty gross. The city itself is stunningly beautiful and amazing, but
Yeah.
the environment is rough. So at a certain point, I ended up working at Sam Ash Music on 48th Street in Manhattan, and I was like, you know what, I just got to go to California. So I moved out to Los Angeles with hardly any money, and I got a job working with the Carvin Guitar Company. They're a
Wow.
small guitar company out of Escondido, and they right now have a line of guitars that are called Kiesel guitars. They're very, very nice guitars. For a time, I was in sales, and I helped design some of their models, and played in bands in Hollywood, and played, you know, the Roxy and the Troubadour and Gazzari's and all the usual clubs that one does play. And I reached a point where I literally woke up on this girl's sofa, and I realized that I had a Les Paul, a Marshall half stack, and my clothes were in a garbage bag in her closet.
Oh
And
wow.
and I was like 23 years old, you know, and I'm sitting there, and all I could hear was my dad saying, "You better have something to back that music up," you know, and I'm like, I don't have anything to back the music up, right? And she came out of her room and she goes, you know, "What's wrong with you?" And this is a true story. And she goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I go, I got to get a job, you know, oh, I got to get a job. And she goes, "You know, that's funny. Last night, this producer was mentioning to me that he's looking for a production assistant." And I said, "That's me. I am whatever that means, I'll do it, you know? So I went to work for this guy who was shooting these infomercials. Now that's kind of a thing that's disappeared now, but
Mhm.
it used to be before the internet on cable television that there would be these half-hour or hour-long, basically advertisements that were kind of put together in a way to kind of seem like the Oprah show or something like that. Where my next guest, you know, and they'd come out and then they'd have, you know, whatever it is that they're trying to sell, right? This is selling this. This keeps the mosquitoes down out here. But uh, um, and so we're shooting these things, and I'm a production assistant, right? So I'm watching, and I'm watching what everyone's doing, and I'm also the guy liked the way that I was a production assistant, so he hired me to clean his house. So I'm cleaning his house, and I'm vacuuming down the hallway, and there's an editor in one of the rooms cutting this thing together, and I'm like pausing and vacuuming a hole in the carpet outside of his door, and he goes, you know, finally he goes, "Hey, you want to come in and see what I'm doing?" I'm like, "Yeah." I went in, and he showed me. This is back a long time ago, and we were shooting and editing on 3/4 inch tape, which were these big cassettes about this big. I mean, huge. For that time, it was about as this is before Digibeta. It was about as high a quality video as you could achieve, and so you know, he showed me how the machine, the Sony machine, had you put an in point for the edit, an out point for the edit, and you hit a preview button. The tapes would roll back and roll forward, and you could watch on the monitor and see the edit. And if you liked it, you could hit record, and if you didn't, you could alter it. So I said thanks. I went back out and started vacuuming and, you know, washing this guy's disgusting dishes and cleaning his house. And a week or so later, the guy didn't come to work. And the boss guy, he smoked cigarettes like this, you know. He'd always look at me, and he comes up to me and he's, "You know how to use that machine, right?" I'm like, "I think so. I'm not an expert." And he goes, "Sit down and I'll show you where I want the edits to go." So I sat down and I turned it all on. It came on. I put the tapes in, and they did what they were supposed to do. And he showed me where to edit. And after a while, he left. So in a way, I became an editor. Just
Wow.
actually, I became an editor. Not of, you know, certainly not Citizen Kane. All right. But it was, I was editing. And so I was doing that and still being the PA. While I was a PA, I would be on set and I would watch what everyone did, the electricians, the grips, the camera crew. And so I made friends with them, and I figured out which ones of all the different crews that worked were the best. And one day I was, you know, I'd been editing for a while, and I started complaining to the producer guy. I'm like, you know, the shots don't match. In the wide shot, she's sitting like this, and in the close up, she's like this. So if you cut it, it jumps, right? And he looks at me and he goes, "Think you're so damn smart. You shoot the next one." So I had absolutely no idea what a cinematographer was or how to be one, but I did know all the crews. So I knew all the electricians, the gaffer. You know, the gaffer is the guy who sets the lighting. The grips are the guys who cut lighting to get, you know, light off of walls and things and to shape it. And they also are in charge of the dolly. They move the dollies and cranes, and they do heavy things. And then the camera crew, and I met all the camera operators that I liked a lot. So I surrounded myself with greatness. I got all these talented people around me, and I told them, "I have no idea what I'm doing here, but if you guys will help me, you know, I know this is going to turn out good." And it did. It turned out great. And, you know, that's a thing that I still do to today. I surround myself with super talented people. I'm not the type of person that has people around me where I'm the smartest guy in the room. You know, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you need people that can lift you up. You know, that's the one problem I always have with my rock bands. There was no one in these rock bands that I was in the 80s, big, you know, big hair bands. No one lifted each other up. They were all out for themselves, you know, and it was dog eat dog and weird. And people would jump from band to band. It was very incestuous and gross. And so, you know, especially living in Los Angeles, where everyone in Los Angeles played guitar like Yngwie Malmsteen, right? I mean, just insane. There's so many great guitar players. GIT was churning out fantastic guitar players. And everyone came here for the same reason that I did. That they thought they'd be the next Eddie Van Halen or Randy Rhoads or whoever your favorite guitar playing rock star happens to be.
Yeah.
So, it was by accident and by chance that I stumbled into another career that actually ended up being very, very good for me. One thing that I learned as I would go along is no matter what I did, no matter what the next level was that I entered into, I would always admit to the people around me that I was unsure what I was doing. But if they would help me, then, I wouldn't screw up. It's a business where, I just want to assume. Now, you mentioned construction earlier. My father was in construction too. If you screw up with some bricklaying, you can fix that, right?
Mm.
But if you screw up making a movie, you're costing the company a lot of money. So it's an industry where we don't really get to make many mistakes, if any. And so that's why it's very important to admit what you do and don't know. Now, after doing these infomercials for a while, I actually got a really lucky break, and I got a commercial to shoot with Victoria Principal. And it was a beauty piece, and I hadn't quite gotten the beauty part of it down yet, so I was struggling. There was a grip who was very helpful to me, and he looked at me and he goes, if you go to Paramount Pictures studio, if you call them and say, hey, I want to learn about loading film into the cameras for the multi-camera shows. At that time, they had like Cheers and Wings and Bob Newhart. They had all these multi-camera TV comedy shows. He goes, they'll teach you how to put the film in the magazines of the camera, and they will give you a tour of the studio. So sounded great to me. So I called, and this is pre 9/11, by the way pre 9/11. So on the day, I went to the gate, and there was a guard there. And I said, hi, I'm Steve Gaynor, and I'm going to be working at the camera department. Man. And the guard goes, well, hi, I'm John. I work at this gate a lot. And I'm like, nice to meet you. How you doing? I went in. They showed me how to load film. They gave me a quick golf cart tour, excuse me, around the studio. And then they booted me out of the lot. Well, the next day, instead of going in and doing my job with my producer guy, I called in sick. And I went to the gate, and John was standing there, and I waved at him, and I walked into the studio. And so I walked to the camera department, and I looked at who's now a person who's been my friend for 35 years or whatever, Rudy Pahoyo, great guy. He was the assistant department head there. And I said, Rudy, where's the broom? And I never left. I swept, I cleaned, I scraped stickers off of road cases, the camera cases. I did any type of anything that they needed. And pretty soon people were like, hey, can Steve go over to stage 4 and drop this off? And I'd take it over to stage 4 with a smile and, waving at everybody. I was so happy. I mean, I'm a guy from Alabama, all right, who had been sleeping on a girl's sofa a few months before, right? With clothes in a hefty bag. And now I'm walking around Paramount Pictures, and which is like a dream. I didn't even know it was a dream until I got there. And I looked, and I'm like, this is Hollywood thing. This is a studio with huge stages. And there's people from Deep Space Nine and Star Trek The Next Generation walking around with weird makeup on their faces and in costumes. And it worked out in a way that I made myself important to them, also by being subservient to those people, because I definitely didn't want to get in their way. And at a certain point, one of my dear friends is calling. Let me send him a voicemail. Our kids go to Our kids go to the same school, so he's a lovely director. We did hundreds of Wendy's commercials together, and amazing. So at any rate, being on that studio really invigorated my drive to be a cinematographer. Now, for anyone that might not know what a cinematographer does, we're also called a director of photography. Okay, so it's our job to whatever is in the director's brain, as far as a television show or a feature film or whatever they see in their mind's eye. You got to realize by the time you get to the point to shoot a movie, a director has looked and read the script a million times. I mean, they've lived that script with the producer, with the casting people, trying to find which actors they want to do the job. And the director of photography or cinematographer's job is to come into that situation and manifest on the screen what's in the director's mind. And that means by camera movement, lens choice, composition, and lighting, all of the above. And not just that, but the aesthetic of how the image actually feels. Is it grainy? Is it dark? Is it bright? Is it edge lighty? Is it backlight? Is it front light? You know, there's so many options, and none of them being wrong, frankly, as long as it's what the director is happy with. And so for me, being at Paramount Pictures, I worked there for some time, and actually the boss guy came down and said, "What do you know about Film Lab?" And I said, "Nothing, but I have some books I can read about it." And he had gotten permission to open a lab at Paramount. So they made me, bizarrely, they made me the head of the lab. And it started out just as like a little 1-hour photo lab. And then we added black and white and huge prints and slides and, you know, everything. It became very successful there. And while I was doing that, suddenly big cinematographers would come through and drop off their 1-hour photo stuff or whatever, you know, and I would, I'd look at my assistant and go, "Okay, you see the picture of the baby? I want 5 8x10s and 5 5x7s on the house to that guy." Right. And so I started being invited to stage to watch the cinematographers work on their films and TV shows. And all the while, I was also gaining favor with one of the biggest motion picture rental companies in the world, Panavision. Panavision manufactures cameras and lenses, and so I got to know those people, and we just had such a great symbiotic relationship. And at the time, the business was booming so well. One day on Friday, I walked through the lab into the camera department, and there were cases from Panavision, and there was a note. It said, "Steve, go shoot something beautiful this weekend." A Panavision camera for me.
Man, I would have been like,
you just invited the devil into your house by doing that. I was like, "Oh my gosh, man." So I bought some film and I went out and shot, and I started shooting, and people started hearing around the lot that I was shooting. I did a lot of still photography. I had one instance where the president of Paramount Pictures, Sherry Lansing, and she was big. She was married to Billy Friedkin, who's the guy that directed The Exorcist and The French Connection. Yeah, amazing director.
Good movie.
But she was the president of Paramount Pictures, right? And someone had taken a photograph of her for the cover of I think it was Vogue or Variety or some magazine, and it didn't look so hot. And that was on Friday when it came out. And then Monday, when I walked into the lab, the phone was like melting off the wall, ringing. I'm like, oh no, hello. It's 8 a.m. phone call, and they said, "Please hold for Miss Lansing." And I'm like, oh, shit. And so Sherry Lansing got on, and she goes, "I hear you are a photographer and that you're good." And I'm like, "Well, I'm available." I don't know how good I am, but I am available. She's like, "I would like for you to come to my home and take a portrait of me." So I rented an 8x10 camera, which takes an 8x10-inch negative, huge negative. Remember, this is still back in the film era, okay? And the biggest soft lights I could possibly get, because I knew that she wanted something that was more beautiful than what had been done the previous. And I took these stunning images of her. She was a very beautiful lady, not to mention incredibly talented, and as a producer. And they came out great. And that kind of started, the climb at Paramount. Some guys at Paramount who were working, who had come from working with this guy named Roger Corman. Roger Corman was like the king of B movies, right? He did all those movies with Vincent Price in the 60s, like the Edgar Allan Poe movies and stuff that you see around Halloween, you know?
Yeah.
He started out doing that sort of stuff, and he started his own little studio, and practically everyone in Hollywood started there because it was a place where you could actually screw up and it didn't really matter. You just redo it the next day, you know? It's
Mhm.
really, really, really low budget. And some of those guys said, hey, you should be shooting for Roger Corman. You should go over there. So I went over there. And when I went over there, they had a little second unit thing they needed shot. And I borrowed another Panavision. And when I rolled in there with a Panavision package to Roger Corman Studios, which his cameras were so beat up. I mean, they were held together by duct tape and everything, right? And I come in with this Panavision package that they freaked out. And so they asked if I was interested in, being their full-time second unit guy. And I said, yeah, but, I can't bring the Panavision all the time. This is one time you get it. And so I literally quit a 9-to-5 union dream job at Paramount Pictures to go shoot for Roger Corman B-movie stuff with no guarantees that I'd be working the next day, with with really, really low income, non-union. So there was no health and welfare insurance and all that stuff. It was just, but I didn't have a home. I didn't have a family. And I looked at it as, this is the chance. If you're going to go for it and prove that you're going to be a cinematographer, it was the chance. And so I did it, and it worked out. And I shot a bunch of stuff for Roger, and I just kept shooting and shooting. The one thing that truly elevated me and made all the pieces fit together was when I was working at the lab one day. A young man came in, and he was a Loyola Marymount film graduate student, and he had his thesis film, 16 millimeter film, and he dropped it off, and I ran the film for free for him. And because he's a director, right? But even though he's a film student, he's a director. And he was so happy that I did it. He called the vice president of the studio and said, your guy, Steve Gaynor, is so awesome. He ran all my film for free. I come in the next day, my phone is melting off the wall again. The vice president's like, never do that again or you're fired. And I was like, and he felt so bad. The kid felt so bad about it. He told me, he goes, one day I'm going to be a director and you're going to be my DP. Right. And I'm like, yeah, get out of here. So it ends up that guy did become a director, and we did work a lot together. His name is Dave Myers, and he's a gigantic music video director and a spectacular artist, commercial director as well. And we ended up shooting a movie together for this rapper by the name of Master P. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's a Louisiana-based rapper, incredibly nice guy. And we shot a bunch of music videos, and we shot a movie for him called Foolish. So Dave was true to his word. He did hire me as his DP, and because I did that, I was in New Orleans shooting, and the line producer of the music video in New Orleans said, hey, I've got a script that I think you might be really cool for. It's written by this guy named Larry Clark, who's a director who just directed a movie called Kids. And the movie's called Bully. You should check it out. So I read the script, and it was bitching. And he goes, by the way, Larry wants it. It's a true story about this bully that these kids in Florida, actually over in Pembroke Pines, actually killed this guy and went to prison. So he goes, Larry wants the movie to be sweaty and no makeup and like handheld and, like really rough. He doesn't want it to be a polished Hollywood looking film. Now, I didn't know much about Larry Clark at that time, but Larry Clark was already a very famous photographer. He had a book that came out in the 70s called Tulsa that sells for $8,000 to $10,000 per issue right now. Okay, so he's the real deal. So as luck would have it, a week later, I was in New York where Larry lived, shooting a music video, And I called Larry and invited him to breakfast. And Larry, being never one to turn down a free breakfast, showed up. And we're sitting there, and he goes, "So, what are you thinking about the script?" And I go, "I don't know, man. To me, when I read it, I just feel like it should be like sweaty and handheld and no makeup." And he like choked on his eggs. He's like, "You sound great." And he hired me. So the movie Bully is really the movie that changed my life forever, because it was kind of an underground hit. It starred Bijou Phillips, Brad Renfro, and some really Michael Pitt, some really top-notch young actors, and they did a fantastic job. And so that suddenly I was doing movie after movie after movie and not really doing as many music videos. And that segued, ultimately into, I was sitting in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in my hotel room, which is a ground floor with a sliding glass door. The snow was halfway up the door. My wife called back here in LA, and this is a funny movie. It was Ryan Phillippe, Bruce Willis, and 50 Cent. Okay. And yeah, it was one of those movies. And I answered the phone, and I could hear my baby son, who was very young at the time, crying in the background. And she was stressed out, and I was not terribly happy being in, I like Grand Rapids, a beautiful town, but in the middle of the winter, it's cold as hell. All right. And I was alone. And like, again, a guardian angel, I get a phone call after I put the phone down for my wife. And this very nice lady says, "You don't know me, but I love your movies, Bully and Mysterious Skin. And I would love it if you would consider shooting my TV series." She said, "It's on MTV. It's called Awkward." And she said, "We've shot the pilot. And, I know you're a feature guy, but would you consider, I love your aesthetic, and I would love for you to do that in my show." And I was like, "I don't know. I'm not a big TV kind of a guy." And I looked at the sliding glass door with the snow on it. I said, "I'll get right back to you." And I called my wife and I said, "Look, I've been offered a TV series. That means that I will be in Los Angeles for an extended period of time."
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, TV generally actually pays more than the smaller features do too.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I called her, Lauren, my dear friend Lauren. I called her back and said, "Yes, I'll do it." And that began a 5-year journey of television for me, which is where I became a director. And I got to direct a couple of episodes of Awkward. And that was, again, a life-changing moment for me. I won an Emmy on shooting Awkward. And so that was, another high point for me. And so not long after that, I shot some network TV and stuff. And not long after that, Lauren called me again. She had another show at Netflix called On My Block. And so I went and I shot the show On My Block, the part of the half of the last season, I guess. We had trouble hooking back up. When you work with someone in this business, when you're working with them, you try and stay with them, right? So you ride on their coattails and do job to job to job. If I'm not available for someone's show, they hire someone else. That's just it. They're not going to wait around until I'm available in 2 months. So, and then that other person is doing their very best to impress that person to stay with them. That's how it is. So, so ultimately I ended up getting back with Lauren, and Lauren has been so kind to me over the years. She's recommended me for several other shows. And, I don't know if you could tell, but I've been really blessed. What's happened in my life, I am, basically poor white trash from Alabama. I didn't go to college. I just have a high school diploma. And for me to achieve the things that I've been able to achieve, is beyond my comprehension, to be honest with you.
That's
When I
awesome.
look back on my career, I'm like, you know, it doesn't really make sense, except for the fact of what I told you earlier, that I've just always been humble and admitted when I'm uneducated on whatever it is if I'm being asked to do something, you know.
Yeah.
It's like there's one guy taught me a lesson really early on. Really early on, I was driving a truck for this cinematographer named Tom Grubbs, who was a huge music video cinematographer. He shot like all the Journey videos and the Genesis videos, and he was amazing. And you know, I was in awe. But he hired me to drive his cube truck, and the cube truck had a lift gate, right? So I was working on the truck, and people would come and they'd take lights and cable and stands, and they'd bring stuff back they weren't using, and all day long up and down with the tailgate, right? And so the gaffer at some point later in the day comes over and goes, "Have you cranked the truck lately?" And I went, "No, sir." He goes, "You've been running that gate up and down all day, right?" I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "I think you better crank the truck and let it run for a while." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "The battery." I'm like, "Oh my God." It could have gotten to wrap time when we're done and everybody has to get the hell out of there. And either the gate would have stopped because the battery was dead, you know, no one likes a gate that's halfway up and down, or the truck wouldn't start at the end and I couldn't go home. So sage advice from a very talented man. That sort of thing propelled me into the career, and you know, basically guaranteed my success. Even as much as I didn't know, the people around me saved me, and for that I'm forever grateful. You know, now here I'm almost 63 years old. I've been doing it for a long time now. Remember, I came out here in 1982.
Yeah.
So who knows what the next chapter is? I know what the next chapter is, and it's this movie that I'm producing, which I can't talk a lot about right now, but it's absolutely going to make some big changes in our business. Because one night recently, I don't know whether it was melatonin or the vitamins I take at night, but I sat up at 3 a.m. and I had this idea of how to do a feature a whole new way. And I had to check myself to make sure that I wasn't out of my mind. And I went around and asked many of my very talented and very successful people in the industry, and 99% of them, their jaws hit the ground when I told them what this idea was. So I've basically raised the financing on my own, and have put this all together myself. And I think that I may have something here. You'll know in the next 6 months, because I'll definitely swing back around here and announce what it is. But it's pretty exciting.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait. You know, it's funny, like you're talking about your journey and stuff in the beginning to end. It sounds like it sounds like, because you hear that a lot when people go to California and they start from nothing and they don't know where they're gonna go from there, because they're not even sure if they're gonna be homeless for the rest of their life or they're gonna like become some big next thing. And it's just a beautiful story to hear about that. Just people start from nothing. I can't remember that country singer. She's huge now, but she like lived in moved from Tennessee to California, lived in a little tiny trailer, had nothing, sang her first song, and all of a sudden she became like a sensation.
Was she on American Idol?
No, she was I saw her here.
Carrie, right? Carrie Underwood.
No, not Carrie Underwood. It's oh gosh, she sings that one song with Hardy, that one country singer.
We'll look it up. Google it.
Yeah, we'll look it up.
Yeah. Well, you know, I want to point this out. I don't think necessarily it's California per se. You know, I think that there are opportunities all over this beautiful land of ours. You know, this country is like it's the most amazing place in the world, in that someone like me can succeed, you know. The difference is that in California, it rarely gets really cold. So the bums have suntans, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I think that having like all year warm climate, maybe I think the bugs proliferate more often. The rabbits, there's more rabbits, there's more everything here. There's a lot of people. I do remember when I first came here, I was crossing over the Nevada to California state line, and the car in front of me had a bumper sticker, and it said, "Welcome to California. Now go home." So
That's
uh,
yeah, in Florida here too.
it's pretty crowded, and but I don't necessarily think that it is that reason. There are a couple of things. Obviously, the music industry, a big part of it is in California. Hold on, I've got to
Yeah.
get this. There we go. Did you hear that? I
Oh, does
zapped
that?
that.
Oh, that's a cool thing.
Oh, it's
I
the
won't,
greatest thing in the world, man. I
because
don't
I
have very many mosquitoes, but the ones that occasionally appear could carry a baby away.
yeah.
So it's like I don't know 10,000 volts or something, and definitely don't want to grab it like that. It has a safety right there. They're on Amazon. They're like 19.99.
Oh,
I mean, you live next to the swamp, man. You should have two of these. We'll be going like this,
that's
So
what I'm saying. I'm in the woods a lot, so like that would be definitely beneficial.
yeah. Now let me ask you this because I spend a lot of time in Tennessee. I got really fortunate in my career in that I met some very talented people. One is a director in Nashville by the name of Sean Silva, and Sean and I kind of stumbled into shooting this music video for a guy named Kenny Chesney. And
Oh,
Kenny is
yeah,
a very big star. Oh, here's the
yeah,
mosquito again. Did you hear that? I got him.
yeah.
There's a certain amount of pleasure that comes with it too.
Yeah,
But so I started spending a lot of time. We shot a lot of music videos for Kenny and other country artists. And so while in the Nashville area, my old hobby of metal detecting came back because there's tons of Civil War relics in the ground up there.
oh yeah.
And so I'm wondering if you, Rhode Island guy, right, that moved to Florida, do you know how to keep chiggers off of you?
Uh,
I'll tell you if you don't, because it's very helpful. And ticks. What they do in Nashville is they put sulfur and talcum powder mix in their socks. The bugs don't like it at all, and they won't crawl up your leg. And ticks are horrific because of Lyme disease.
oh yeah,
So
they're bad.
yeah, so putting the this is here's a lesson for all you kids out there that might not necessarily want to be a cinematographer, but might want to go out in the woods. If you get talcum powder and sulfur and put it in your socks, and then tuck your pants into your socks.
Yeah.
That's it, man. You're almost guaranteed not got him. Almost guaranteed not to have any ticks sucking on you when you get home.
Yeah.
Of course, if they fall out of a tree, you're screwed anyway, But so yeah, so Tennessee, what a beautiful state! What
Yeah.
what an amazing, gorgeous, very long state. There's so many different types of topography and people. And hold on, apparently they're attacking tonight. I don't know why. It's sunset here in Los Angeles. I don't know if you could tell. Can you see the sun that's coming through? We call this dappled light, and we're almost into what cinematographers call magic hour, which is the time when the sun has dipped down just far enough so there's no hard light hitting, but there's plenty of ambient light left, and it's generally a golden color. So it's either golden hour or magic hour or whatever. It's a wonderful time to take photographs because there's no shadows.
Yeah.
So we're kind of getting into that right now. You can see it on my shirt there. It's it's the DP's favorite time, but also one of our most anxious times because that sun, she do go down, So if you got something to shoot and you want to shoot it at this time, you gotta hurry up. So
yeah, I don't know if you saw in the beginning of my intro where it's the drone.
Yes,
That I shot from my drone and stuff like that. I love shooting at that time of day.
Hey, what's the story with that? Looked like a causeway or a bridge in the very beginning of your opening. Had the like the white balustrades along the side,
Oh,
and
that's an actual abandoned bridge, and I'm trying to think of what part of Florida. It's right near Brantford, Florida. A lot of people go on that bridge to paint a lot of artwork and stuff. It's a very beautiful bridge. There's so much artwork there, and just looking off of it, it's just
is there water underneath it?
yep. There's water. You can watch the water. People actually take the horses over the bridge and stuff.
Oh, can
You
you
could
fish
go.
off of it?
Yeah, you could fish off of it. And like towards like both sides of the bridge, you could go underneath, and there's so much artwork. It's very beautiful.
Oh, I bet. That under the bridge is leading me back towards snakes, though. So I don't know if I'll ever. Maybe in a boat.
Thanks, but it's really cool. I took my kids there once, and they all just like were like painting away. It's really cool.
How old are your kids?
I got a 3-year-old, a 14, and a 17.
Well, you're spanning the gap there, huh?
Yeah, and
Well,
my 3-year-old, she's an actress, so she loves to perform in front of us.
beautiful. Well, you must be a great dad if you continue having kids. I have two. I have a 20-year-old and I have a 17, soon to be 18-year-old.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, I know she's almost an adult. And but that was enough for us because I was always gone.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And my poor wife was, stuck with having to deal with two screaming babies, and that was not easy. I remember, I shot the movie Punisher Warzone. It's a Marvel movie, and we shot that in Montreal. And I was actually not home when my daughter was born, which is horrible. There was no way I could be. Well, first of all, she was several weeks premature, so we had no idea that she was going to be born then. The plan
Yeah.
was for me to be back. And then when I finally did get back, I walked in the door. I was exhausted. 12 hours of travel and everything. And I put my suitcases down, and my wife went, "Here, here's the baby." I'm like, I don't even know what to do. So, yeah, babies are, it's just, it's the greatest gift in life to be able to have kids.
I love it. It's a lot of fun, especially when they are just so talented and do stuff and outdo you. It's a
Yeah.
very amazing.
I think that's a big part of it is that, you give them everything that
Yep.
and then they're going to go on and theoretically or hopefully surpass what you've achieved. And, there is something now that clearly would have altered my life in so many ways, and that's YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was learning to play guitar, I had to put the damn needle down on the record, right? And try and play a Van Halen piece and then do it again, right? And try and learn Eruption or whatever song I was trying to learn from Van Halen. And now you can go on YouTube and there's 100 people showing you exactly how to play it, not to mention 100 videos of Eddie Van Halen close up actually doing it, So my son is an extraordinary musician and he's actually producing a lot of music now. And he, because he was able to learn this way rather than the old way. The old way you became a producer was you were an assistant engineer for years, and then maybe you got to be an engineer for years, and then maybe you became a producer, But now he has learned so much about recording technology. It's as if he has a master's degree in recording. Essentially, he does, perhaps even more, because he spent 4 or 5 years studying YouTube, watching giant producers show exactly how they did stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, what the hell? Why didn't I get that?
It's let me ask you this question. Like speaking about YouTube and stuff, I know there's like so much streaming going on, and a lot of people are less watching movies at movie theaters and stuff like that. How impactful is that to be as being a director?
Well, I mean, streaming, at least for now, streaming, in my opinion, is it. There are so few movies, comparatively speaking, with what used to be released in theaters. They're primarily really large movies, that they know they can bankroll, that are going to end up, turning a profit for them. Um, Streaming has basically devastated linear TV, the old school TV, because you can watch it whenever you want to. You can watch all of the episodes if you want to at once, right? Which, believe me, is what the studio wants you to do. There you go. And so, for me, in my work, there's not as much of a change. I will say this: COVID was a big bummer, okay? Because nobody wanted to cram 150 people into a small stage, all breathing for 12 hours a day. So we stopped shooting for over a year.
Wow.
I remodeled the inside of my house. And I still have my fingers, so I'm very proud of that. I was my miter saw work was very careful. Table saw, extremely careful. But I did learn how to put nice molding up, so I like that. So when we came back from COVID, what had happened during COVID is no one basically went to work that didn't have to, and people sat at home and they binged everything. They would sit down and start a new show and watch all the episodes, and then move to the next show. And at a point, it was able to kind of get to the end of Netflix. You know what I mean? You watch everything they had.
Everything. They had nothing.
Yeah. So it became the gold rush of our industry. When we came back, there was so much work. I mean, I had trouble getting my crews to come to help me on a job because they were already hired. There were so many jobs going on. And it was fantastic. And everyone made a ton of money. And then the writers went on strike.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Me too. When the writers went on strike and the actors supported them, and all of the unions supported them at that point, no one had any idea that it was going to go on as long as it went on. It was a very long time.
Yeah, it was a while.
It was a very long time. During that time, producers who still wanted to be making content, but couldn't because essentially what shut the entire industry down was the strike. The actors and all of the IATSE people striking was bad, but the Teamsters joined in. Now, you can't do anything if you can't move a truck. You know what I mean? I mean, you're done. So that was what stopped everything. When the Teamsters said we will not, they had an agreement not to cross the picket line, right? Well, producers who in general didn't really care looked at our situation, and the accountants all got in the room with them and said, we've been making a lot of content for the past few years, and people are not streaming as much as they were. All of the streamers realized that people had gone back to work, so they weren't consuming as much. And the producers said, well, what are we going to do? We can't shoot in Hollywood or New York or anywhere in the United States. Some genius came up with the idea, well, the UK has non-union below the line. Now, below the line means everybody beneath the director, basically. Above the line is the director, producers, the actors, all of that. They actually, it's a line, that's it. And as a cinematographer, I am the top of below the line. So maybe my hair is just barely crossing it, but that's it. Stand by. Another viper has entered my realm. So they went to England and to Ireland, and the rates on those people are lower anyway. They work for less money. and it's non-union, so they're not having to pay the pension and welfare, and the welfare being probably one of the more expensive things, because healthcare, as you know, in the United States is expensive, and it's socialized in England. So all the shows, a lot of the shows moved to the UK. This is in the past couple of years, and are still there. And of course, I mean, look, you have to look at it two ways. Obviously, as a union member here in Los Angeles, I would love for all the work to be here, and they've been trying. But the fact of the matter is, it's economics. If you can, let's take the motion picture industry out of it. Let's go back to those bricks I was talking about, right? If you buy bricks from a brickyard and they're $2 a piece, but Home Depot has bricks for $1 a piece, what are you going to do? So it remains to be seen exactly how robust the economy in the United States, as far as motion picture industry goes, will return to. I'm hoping it comes back strong, but it is definitely on fire in Europe right now. They're making a lot of dough over there, and the producers are making the projects cheaper, without the pension and welfare of the unions, the below the line unions, and you know what? The writers are still working.
Yep.
The people that we struck for, they're writing.
Yep.
You can write from anywhere, can't you? You can write from, you can be on the moon and write a show, Yeah, so that's that situation. I am blessed in that I've been working a good bit, and I think a lot of the people who were impacted the most were young people who hadn't necessarily established themselves. Because you come out here and you've gone to film school, spent a lot of money doing that, and then you're just starting to get to know people, and you got an apartment, and then there's basically no work going on. You go home, right? So that's the way that is. So sorry, I hope that I didn't want to bring everybody down. It's really not that bad. I'm doing fine. Thank you. But this next movie that I'm doing, this thing's gonna be crazy, and I'm working here in Los Angeles. So
well, before I know time is running short, but tell us a little bit about like other movies you worked on.
Let me talk about one in particular that, well, maybe two. One in particular that was groundbreaking to me. I was in Nashville. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a rainy day, and so I couldn't go metal detecting. And the phone rang, and it was a producer friend of mine by the name of Ted Hope. Now, Ted Hope is a very, very big producer, and he had produced a movie that I shot previously for the great director John Waters. I don't know if you know who John Waters is or not. He's an incredibly intelligent man that makes very vulgar movies, and he has a little pencil mustache, and you certainly would recognize him if you saw his picture.
Yeah, I'm sure if I see the picture.
Yeah. So he's a very unique human being. But Ted had worked with me on that, and he goes, he has a kind of a little accent like, "Hey, Steve, I got this new director, and he likes your movie Bully, and he'd really like for you to shoot this movie for him." And so I was like, sure, wait till I get back to LA. So when I came back to LA, I went and I had lunch with this guy, the director, and he's incredibly funny, very, very bright man who I was genuinely excited to work with. Little did I know that this man that I was working with was James Gunn. And James and I did a movie together called Super. And
I know that movie.
Which was the movie, actually, he has said that put him on Marvel's radar. You know? Yeah. And so he is a hyper intellectual, super talent, and I can't say enough good things about the guy, because he really is very special. And you know, his whole circle of people who he had around him throughout all of his early projects, particularly his brother Sean, is you know, they're all in all of those DC movies. Now James is the president of DC. So yeah, so he went from being a Marvel guy, and he kind of got, for a split second, he kind of got canceled for some stuff he'd said on Twitter years and years ago. But DC hired him to shoot the second Suicide Squad movie, and they loved it. And so after he had finished his contract with Marvel for Guardians 3, he bounced on over to DC and became the president. And you know, all of that, that's a guy that I set. There's a little tea place over here near my home called Aroma. And when we first met the first day, we were sitting there at Aroma just laughing. And we did laugh. You know, the movie Super, the primary star in that is Rainn Wilson. And Rainn is another very funny human being. And we spent, you know, I think we only shot 4 weeks. I think it was 20 days of shooting. But we spent all 20 days laughing, you know. That's a great thing, you know, when you can get in a job where you have a great time and you can have friends, and, you know, there's not a lot of tension. I mean, there's always tension on a motion picture set because you have to do it in a certain amount of time, and the expectations can be greater than the amount of time that's allotted, you know, like, we're going to do this. And then you get there and you're like, we'll never do that. We can do this. But it works out. And when you get in a situation where you can work with people that are your friends, that you can laugh with, I mean, isn't that just, it's just incredible. You know, I mean, again, I just want to say how very fortunate I feel that I've been in my life, and how blessed. And, you know, there's no question that, you know, God had a mission for me when I came out to Los Angeles, and it wasn't in spandex and Aquanet hairspray. It was, there was that. It was, oh yeah. It was, you know, to make movies, and to have my incredible family, and to, you know, just to get to live the life that I've been blessed with. And I thank God every day that you know, it's not me. It's like, you know, the sadly, the guy that just died a couple of days ago in the plane crash, he wrote the Jesus Take the Wheel, right? At a certain point in your life, you know, if you're wise, I feel like you realize that you're not really in control of your life, that the more you let go, that the more great things can happen, you know?
Yeah.
I think anyway, that's just my belief. So
definitely, brother. Oh man. What an incredible show, dude. Thank you so much for, we're gonna have to have you come back, like you said, like I think about 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna circle back around and tell you what's up. But hey, I gotta say one thing before I go. I have started a YouTube channel. And it's called Steve Gainer's Everything Cinematography. And I interview very, very big cinematographers, people that shot Star Wars and, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I also show the vintage cameras. I'm the curator at the American Society of Cinematographers Camera Museum. And I look at these antique cameras and talk about them. So I'd love it if some of your people and you would pop over to Steve Gainer's Everything Cinematography, you know, like, hit the bell, subscribe on old Gainer here, and just check it out, because it's way different than how I'm speaking right now. It's much more of like more of an educational type of a thing, you know. It's frankly, I prefer, you know, having discourse like you and I are doing, because it's like we're two friends sitting in a room, you know.
Yeah.
But people really like to learn about the old cameras and about the other cinematographers. So I did it. The way I found out about that, and I know we're running out of time, there's a channel called Tested. That is Adam Savage's channel, you know, from Mythbusters. And yeah, they interviewed me, and we talked about the old cameras, and it got like 100,000 hits. You know, I'm like, wow, people really care about this old junk. So I think think I hit the right nerve because a lot of the people that watch Adam's shit are tech nerds anyway. You know what I mean? So, so I segued. But at any rate, I can't thank you enough for having me. Thanks for reaching out, and I'll be back in 6 months, and I'll let you know what's going on with Slasher Camp.
Oh man, yeah, we're definitely gonna have to have you back. Thank you so much again. But we're gonna talk usually I talk to my guests a couple of minutes after the show ends. But just stay in the back room here. Sure. I hope everybody has a great night on a Saturday night because this was an amazing talk, and I will be resharing our conversation here in a bit. But thank you so much, Steve. I will be talking to you in the back room once we go off the air.
Hey, Josh, it's my honor. I'm very proud to call you my friend.
Same here, brother. Definitely. You. We'll be talking more once we go off there. I hope everybody has a good night, and check this commercial when we go on break. Bye. Peace out, people.
Stay safe.
Hey, everybody. It's The Animal. Thank you so much for joining me tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be going live with an amazing guest you don't want to miss. Especially September 22nd, I'll be joining the red carpet at a big movie premiere. I'll be interviewing directors, actors, actresses, you name it. So you'll be with me behind the scenes at this big movie premiere that you don't want to miss. September 22nd. But also, again, join me tonight on Animal Expedition Files.